Buenos dias and welcome back to another video, everybody. Hopefully the sound is okay. I forgot my wind muff on my microphone, so I forgot my microphone all the way around on this shoot, so hopefully in camera it's not too bad. We're in a little inlet, so I am in Morro Bay or Morro State Beach, and I'm going to show you Morro Rock here in a second. But the challenge today is going to be this. I'm going to take this Olympus film camera OM-1 with a 50mm lens and put it up against this bad boy right here, this beast of a camera, the Canon EOS R with the Canon RF 50mm lens on it. My wife and I, we are on a 2-week up the coast, California to Oregon to Washington and then back down. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to challenge this film camera against this bad boy, and we're going to use all the settings from this camera and we're going to transpose them onto this camera. And it's not necessarily a challenge to see which image is better. I'm actually challenging this camera to set up this camera so I could take the shots equally in the same, and just so they just both look lovely. We're going to take a lot of shots. I believe this is there's just a bunch of nuts and bolts. So postpone until I get some film. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Right. So that's Ragged Point right out here, and I've got the film stopped off. So let's try this again. So the idea here is just to compose the shot here with this camera and then use the same exact settings here on the film camera, and we'll check them out when they're all developed and exposured and everything's done. So let's get that done. So I currently dialed in the EOS R, and the settings are 1/250th for shutter speed. I have it at f9 at ISO 400. The reason I have it at ISO 400, even though we're in pretty direct sunlight, is that the film speed that I got on this camera or on the film camera is at 400. So that's the minimum spec I have to have. I'll set it to f9 and I'll set it to 1/250th of a second. So let me shoot the EOS R first. Okay, and I'm gonna leave that as one shot and done, because on a film camera, you're doing the same thing, right? One shot and done. It's not like I can check it. So just like that, that's it. Move on to the next one. So I don't know if you can see it, but we're at Bixby Bridge. So I'm going to shoot this one at 1/250th of a second at f11, and again an ISO of 400. First I'll do it with the Canon. Now let's shoot it on the Olympus. I actually checked the back to see if it was there. All right, so I failed to mention there are 36 exposures, so this is gonna take a bit, but we'll get there. We'll get there. All right, day 2 of this challenge. We are in Carmel by the sea right now. So let's take our first shot with the Canon and check out this lovely pastry we're taking a picture of. Oh, that's beautiful. Let's get locked and loaded. I think we got it. We got it. I realize I'm all over the place. This is day 3. I'm in San Francisco. I'm still doing the challenge or the comparison or the setup with the EOS R and the Olympus OM-1. So I'm still doing my thing, but I realized a couple things, maybe a few things. That one, I bought a 36 exposure roll, so that means 36 shots. So we're gonna have to speed it up a little bit. So I'm in San Francisco, like I said. I am shooting sunset currently. You got the Golden Gate Bridge right behind me. It is super beautiful out here this morning. So let's enjoy a few of the shots. Let's rattle some of these guys off. Let's see how this thing is setting up based on the settings from the Canon EOS R. Let's go! Another thing I realized about shooting film was that there is the potential for none of these shots to come out. So obviously if you're watching this video, it worked out pretty good. Who knows? Because, you know, I had to go still get it developed. It's going to be over basically a 2-week span, so who knows? I know I got them on the Canon EOS R. They're looking pretty good. We'll see how they turned out on films. I'm not quite sure how many that is, but we're making our way to 36. All right, today we find ourselves in Ashland, Oregon. Wasn't San Francisco beautiful? Hopefully all those turned out well. So we are in Ashland, Oregon at our campsite, and I'm gonna take 3 images of the natural beauty that's around me here. Settings on the EOS R at 1/250th for shutter speed. We're an aperture of 2.8, and the running theme here is this is ISO 400 film, so therefore I'm on ISO 400 on the digital camera. So let's go take some pictures. Beautiful flowers, beautiful pink and purple flowers. Let's get it. Lovely. Film camera. Love that sound. Just like that, we got one off. Let's see the other 2. Okay, so those were fun. I know the last one wasn't necessarily nature, but it had nature behind it, but that's the actual campsite that we stayed in. The one thing that I keep messing up is when I look at the ISO and I go and adjust it here in the EOS R. Sometimes I need more ISO, so I bump the ISO. I keep forgetting the Olympus camera is stuck at ISO 400, so that's a tough one sometimes. So I've only got 2 other sources of light that I can work with, and that is the aperture and the shutter speed. So it's a great challenge, it's a great comparison, it's a great setup using the EOS R and setting up the film camera. So this is fun. We're off to our next adventure. Hope you enjoyed those 3 shots. We'll see you on the next one. Hey guys, we're in Portland now, and we're in Portland's Japanese garden. I'm gonna cut right to it. I'm gonna take 10 photos here in the gardens. Let's go. Day 2 in Portland, and we are standing in front of or behind, not sure, but that is the steel bridge. I know you're probably saying it's a steel bridge. That's what I thought. It's called Steel Bridge, and I wonder, I think that's the name of the street, but Steel Bridge there. And then behind it, let me see, I got a little map here. Behind it is the Broadway Bridge. We're gonna walk down the other way where we have Burnside Bridge, and then we have Morrison and Hawthorne Bridge. We don't know how far we're gonna get, but we're gonna try. And over to my right, over here, we have cherry trees, which are usually cherry blossom trees during the spring. And they're not probably as beautiful as they are when they're all bloomed out, but They are still beautiful. And we are still doing the challenge with a comparison, the whatever you want to call it. I don't know what to call this, but we are setting up the film camera settings and the exposure with the Canon EOS R. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna continue this. On the film camera, it said we have about 22 shots taken, so we have approximately about 14 more shots to take, give or take a few, because I think I messed one up yesterday. Here it is. All right, let's go take some pictures. All right, now we are in Seattle, and we're gonna set up the setup and comparison again of the Canon EOS R and this Olympus OM-1. I think there's only like 4 shots left on the film camera, so we're gonna get it done, and we're gonna get it done here in high sunlight. So let's get it done. Let's go. The first shot here, and one of the last shots that I have on the film camera, is gonna be of the public market center sign. We have full sun, not making excuses. We're gonna do our best to set it up on the EOS R and then get it on the OM-1. So let's see what we can do. Our settings are 1/250th. We're shooting at f11 and ISO 400. That has been the theme on the film camera. Okay. Okay, this video brings us to Grants Pass, Oregon. It's beautiful here today. It's one of the first campsites that we actually have arrived early at. And this is going to conclude the setup of the Olympus OM-1 with the Canon EOS R. It's been fun. I'm gonna finish this video off back in the office in the future. We'll talk about some of my final thoughts of setting up this film camera with the Canon EOS R and just using a film camera in general. I don't do it that often, and I'd like to do it more in the future, but the reality is digital is just that much easier. All right, let's continue this in the future. Hey y'all, I am home from the trip, and it was super fun. 2 weeks up the West Coast, California, Oregon, Washington, and back, and it was fabulous. So let's get to the final thoughts on the Canon EOS R and the Olympus OM-1. It was fun. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways that you can set up a film camera. There are even apps today that help you set up film cameras for the environment that you're in. But I just thought it'd be a fun idea to take my digital camera, my mirrorless digital camera, and set up this Olympus OM-1. So some final thoughts on shooting on the Olympus OM-1 film camera. I'm gonna put a few images right here that I actually edited from the Canon EOS R. A couple things to keep in mind from the images that you viewed from this camera. One, I was shooting at a white balance of about 45 to 4800, so it was on the cooler side of things. And the other thing was that there was no focus stacking, there was no exposure bracketing that I could do necessarily on this film camera. So I wanted to stay true to it and just take one image on the mirrorless camera. The other thing that I didn't constantly check that I kept knocking myself in the head about was that I do have the opportunity to go from full frame and to crop in, or a 1.6 times crop factor. Now, why, you ask, might I use that? I was in certain environments where I wanted to get a little closer to the mountains or to the lake or to wherever I was. So this allowed me to get that much closer depending on the lens I was using. So there were occasions when I switched over on the 50mm on the Canon that the shots looked closer, and I did shoot both from the same distance or area. So it was interesting to me, and I couldn't figure it out until I saw the edits that I was cropped in on some of the images, and I was like, eh. But it was because I was on the 1.6 times crop factor on the digital camera. So, and another thing that I mentioned also in the video, that a lot of the days I shot in midday sun or it was overcast, and I couldn't get a really good balance between sky background and subject foreground. So I just did my best. So that's why you saw some of the images were a little bit blown out, but I was able to bring back a lot of the images from the digital camera because I did shoot raw. Those are some of the images that you're seeing here. All in all, I had a really good time shooting this video. In fact, this is a different type video for me because normally I shoot them all in one day, and this video was shot over the span of 2 weeks. So I had a super good time doing it, and I even involved my wife, Jackie. She held the video camera when I was in some of the spots where I couldn't just put it down on a tripod. So all in all, great trip. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear from you. I have a question for you. Is there anybody out there shooting on some form of a digital camera, even if it's a box disposable camera? And have you done that recently? There is something to, wait 1 second. There is something to getting actual hard copies of your prints in your hands, and it just feels super good. So I am so super happy that I was able to print these. That is actually another video that I'm working on, and it'll be coming out soon. Once again, I can't say it enough. I got a big smile on my face because it was a 2-week grand, wonderful, awesome, so much fun trip with my wife, and we took a lot of great photos, both on our cell phones, our mirrorless cameras, and of course on our film. So thanks so much for watching. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Please leave me a comment down below, and if you liked any part of this video, consider giving me a like. I'd really appreciate it. Until the next one, we'll see ya. Peace. I am at Point Ragged Rock. Ragged Rock, Jax? What? Oh, it's called Ragged Point. It's funny talking to a camera and having to come back and get the camera. Some of the troubles I've had, some of the try to rhyme, but they try and rhyme.